Hello everyone. You can see this thermodynamical system of bird. It's a glass bird actually made up of. I'll just describe it as a whole. The head of the bird is made up of felt. The clothing, the red clothing that you can see, it's made up of felt, this one, right? And it's swinging. Initially what I have done, that this felt I have made it very wet by dipping the whole bird's head inside the water, so that sufficient amount of water is present on the head. The head is heavy, and the lower part, you can see that red liquid present over here is the alcohol, right? So the lower part actually has got a little bit higher temperature, and the top part, which is the wet head, the felt is very moist, full of water. Slowly the evaporation is taking place on top. As I'm speaking, you can see that the liquid over here, the alcohol, the spirit over here is slowly rising. It's mixed with some color, that's so that it's visible. Slowly, scientifically, it's studied that slowly this alcohol is rising. Now what is the reason behind it? As the evaporation takes place from the head, the upper part has got some lower temperature, which contracts the air as compared to the air at the bottom, which slowly expands. This expansion causes the alcohol to rise, pushes the alcohol towards the tube. You can see that as I'm speaking of, this alcohol in the tube is slowly rising. Now what happens, that as the alcohol is rising, it makes the top part little bit heavier, and it depends upon the rate of evaporation. It's a morning time, so the evaporation is quite slow, and if it is a daytime, it's windy, it's dry weather, so the evaporation will be quite rapid, and you will find that the liquid inside the tube will also try and rise quite rapidly. Now what happens, that as the top part becomes heavier because of the rising of the alcohol slowly is rising, so the top part becomes heavier, and as a result, the top head part of the bird will lower down, and it will lower down and will try and dip its beak inside the water. So the motion is very slow initially, but it rapids out as the rate of the evaporation is even more. So often these instruments are kept under fan, and the whole thing is seen. You can see as I'm speaking, the neck of the bird is now full with spirit, the red liquid, and the head is slowly descending. The angle is increasing over there and taking time for that. Here it is, very very slowly. Drinking bird, it's often called, but I will call it thermodynamical perpetual engine, or thermodynamical perpetual bird engine, because it's dipped. Now you must have seen that what exactly had happened, that the alcohol gets drained off. Why? Because there's a air inside the abdomen which slowly enters the tube, and as the bird descends down, or the beak is descending down, it becomes a horizontal position to enable the air from the bottom to rise up, and the whole alcohol in the tube gets drained up. This whole process again, it repeats off by making the alcohol rise very slowly. Why? Because of the head of the bird, which is absolutely wet. And see the again, and it takes about 3 minutes for this to happen. And what we have found, that endlessly this bird keeps on drinking the water, and the head remains wet. The head has to be wet, and the reason that the crucible has got water and the bird has to drink the water is that the evaporation should continuously take place, so that the whole of the alcohol keeps on rising and the perpetual motion or the perpetual thermodynamical motion keeps on happening. So I'll take a longer time for that. And do notice, once this bird gets in motion, then you have to be very careful of that. Well, I've kept my cat away. I have a pet cat. I've kept my cat away. The reason being that anything in motion, and this is some sort of bird structure in motion. So if the cat sees it, let me see. I will be calling the cat. Let me see what's the reaction of this cat. In fact, so yeah, if you ever buy this drinking bird, it's often written on the box that beware of cats, because they can knock this down, and it's made of a glass, so it will break. It should not be made up of plastic. Reason being, first of all, glass is quite transparent, and as I was speaking, you must have seen that the whole of the neck is filled, and this bird is again lowering down its head, which already is moist initially. So, and then it dips its beak, sucks up the water inside the felt, and you must have seen very rapidly that how the bird's neck gets emptied out from that spirit, the colored spirit that you can see out there. So my cat is watching, and that I'm quite scared it may knock it down. Let me see. Well, I should call my cat and let's see what's the reaction. In fact, until till then, just keep on watching this, how the alcohol is rising over there. Come. Oh, she's busy. Okay, so while I'm speaking, you can see that the water is rising. It's a morning time, the evaporation is quite slow, and I'll try and elongate the video as much as possible so that you can watch it in a proper manner. Before this, I have posted this one, but not very clearly with full information. You can hear the full information by any scientists in the YouTube. You will find the explanations are there. I'm just taking part in that explanation and showing you this thermodynamical perpetual engine. What does perpetual mean? Perpetual means which endlessly, it keeps on happening, it carries on and on and on. There are many mechanical systems, but this is thermodynamical system. Wrongly, it is actually explained as the drinking bird, but to the student, this should be told that it is a thermodynamical bird perpetual engine, a thermodynamical perpetual bird engine, something like that. So you must have seen that this time also same thing happens, and just find out that how the perpetual action keeps on happening. It's a process of evaporation, the cyclic process of the rising of the alcohol, expansion, contraction of the air, and then again the mechanical process becoming heavy against the gravity, and all the whole bird's neck and the head gets bent and gets dipped inside the beaker, and the felt is again moistened. After getting moistened, the bird again retreats back because of the gravity. Now you must have seen that as the alcohol drains out, it makes the abdomen heavier, and that is the reason why the abdomen is again going down to pull the head upward. So you must understand the whole process, whole cyclic process, and note down the points behind it. Well, perpetual engine, you can imagine that does it violate the second law of thermodynamics? No, absolutely not. Kelvin Planck's and the Clausius statement, what it says, that there is no process that is possible actually which actually repeats itself without any source or sinks interference. Means you have to have an external input, otherwise it's not possible that the whole of the energy from the source, it's not possible to convert down into the sink, into the total amount of work done. You must be knowing that. So what actually is the Kelvin Planck's statement? The whole of the energy that actually comes from the source, it does not get converted completely. 100% conversion is not possible. That's what the main motive is for the second law of thermodynamics. But over here, what is happening, that it is getting an extra amount of input from the external grounds. What is that input? That is the energy of evaporation. Means the evaporation is there. It gets moistened, lighter, colder, and the air gets contracted from the top, and so it does not violate the second law of thermodynamic as such. So in between, it's getting the input, just like the torch. uh, if there's a torch, you will find the cell keeps on getting the input out there. Okay, so you must understand, while I'm speaking, that I'm kind of, this whole alcohol is rising up, and I just want to show you that how this thermodynamical system can work the whole day. I have actually observed it, that whole of the day it keeps on working. And so I repeat myself that if you try and buy that box of this drinking bird, you'll find it's written beware of cats. Why? Because it's in motion, that's why. It's going down, so be careful. So I'm still been becoming silent right now. See, observe how the alcohol retreats and makes the abdomen heavier, before which the head was heavy, but now the abdomen gets heavy, and so the whole process keeps repeating. And it's an endless process. The whole of the day it can carry upon over there. And my cat is very disciplined, so that nothing nonsense cannot be done by the cat actually. So I hope that you enjoyed it. Thank you so much.